We're going to be looking at positive, comparative, and superlative adverbs. This is Ecce Romani, chapter 35, detailed on pages 74 to 76. Are we ready? Let's go. Let's remember that an adverb is a part of speech that modifies a verb. It tells us how the action of a verb is done. Any adjective that we have can be made into an adverb. So if we take the adjective strenuous a regular 2-1-2 adjective, all we have to do to make that an adverb is take off the us and add a long e, strenue. So strenuous means strenuous, strenue means strenuously. In English, typically adverbs end in ly. Not all the time, but again, typically they're ly. So strenuous, the adjective, strenuous in Latin, becomes strenuously the adverb strenue in Latin. And that's going to be our pattern for any 2-1-2 adjective. We're going to remove that us ending and replace it with a long e. There are a couple exceptions. Bonus, which means good, does not become bona, it's bene. So bene is how we say well. Malus, another 2-1-2 adjective, is male. So for both of these previous two, instead of a long e, it's a short e on the end of it. Bene means well, mala means badly. How about third declension adjectives? Third declension adjectives are going to be a little different. So brevis here, which means brief or short, instead of adding a long e, we're going to take the stem, B-R-E-V, and we're going to add I-T-E-R to the end of it. So we get breviter, which means briefly or shortly. That's going to be our pattern for adjectives which are in the third declension groupings. So brevis becomes breviter. We do have one exception, though. If we have a third declension adjective whose stem ends in nt, such as prudanes, prudentis, we don't add an iter, we just add an er after that nt stem ending. So prudanes, prudentis, wise, becomes prudenter, wisely. So that's going to be how we work with third declension adjectives. Normally we're going to add iter to the stem, except if the stem ends in an nt, and then we just add an er after that. One brief exception, faculus, which means easy. The adverbial form of that is facile, which means easily. Let's get some examples and practice with this. So if you have your book, this is exercise 35F on page 75. And let's just go through this. Ignavus means lazy. So how would you make the adverbial form to say lazily? Take a second. Take a second. What do we get? Ignave. All we're doing is taking that us and replacing it with a long e. Number 2 gives us fortis, fortis, forte. So if we have a third declension adjective, if you were to make that in an adverb, what would you get? Hopefully you got fortiter. Number 3, lentus, a 2-1-2 adjective that means slow. The adverbial form, the English would be slowly. Have you figured out what the Latin would be? Lente. Number 4, negligens, negligentis. This means literally negligent or careless. So how would we say negligently, carelessly in Latin? Since it's a third declension adjective, since the stem ends in nt, negligenter is the adverb form. Number 5, miser, misera, miserum means unhappy. How would we say unhappily? Misere. And one more, number 6, ferox, ferocis is a third declension adjective that means fierce. So how would we say fiercely? That would be the adverb, since it's third declension, ferociter. Hopefully that worked out well for you. Hopefully you understood that. I would encourage you to keep going on your own and try 7 through 12 in 35F if you're still a little confused or feel like you need a little more practice. But if this was easy for you, you're in good shape. Let's move on and talk about comparative and superlative adverbs. You'll remember from the previous chapter we had comparative and superlative adjectives, so we can do the same for adverbs. This chart below here has positive and comparative and superlative, and remember we're dealing with adverbs. So lite is a positive adverb that means happily. It comes from litus. We removed the us and replaced it with a long e, so happy becomes happily. We could say more happily. That's a comparative adverb. The more obviously comparing one thing with another. And comparative adverbs are going to take on the form of the neuter singular comparative adjective. So the comparative adjective for litus is litior, litior, litius in the masculine and then feminine and neuter. Laetios being neuter, laetios is also a comparative adverb. That's how we say more happily in Latin. How about most happily, a superlative adverb? Well, most happy, a superlative adjective, would be laetissimus. So we're going to do like we did earlier. Take the us and replace it with a long e here in the bottom right. Laetissime means most happily. Let's look at some more examples of how this works. Feliciter means luckily. So more luckily would be felicius. Again, that's the neuter singular comparative adjective. It's the equivalent of the comparative adverb. And then felicissime would be most luckily, coming from felicimus, but replacing the us with a long e, most luckily. Another one, celeriter means quickly. More quickly is celerius, and then most quickly is celerime. We've seen that quite often in various vocab sections of chapters. And one more, prudenter means wisely. Prudentius, more wisely, and then prudentissime, most wisely. How about our irregulars, our irregular adjectives? Just to take a look at how they form in the comparative and superlative adverbs. Bonus means good, so the adverbial form is well. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Good grammar. That's how we roll in Latin class. That is bene in Latin. Well, the positive adverb bene. To say better as an adverb, not an adjective, is melius. And then to say best, again as an adverb, not an adjective, is optime. There is a difference between the best dinner and he runs best of all. That first sentence was an adjective. The second's an adverb. So be sure you keep those straight. Bene melius optime. Next, mala is badly. We've seen that just a few minutes ago. If I want to say worse as an adverb, that's peius, the neuter form. And then worst as a superlative is pessime. Facula is easily. We also saw that a few minutes ago. More easily, facilius, and then most easily, facilime. Don't forget, that's one of the ones that doubles the L. To say greatly, something is done greatly, that is magnopera in the positive. If something is more as an adverb, we say magis, and then if something is most as an adverb, that's maxime. Paulum means little. Minus means less, so that's the next degree. That's the comparative degree from little as an adverb. And then something least is minime. Again, these are all adverbs. One more, this is from the bottom of page 75. Multum means much as a positive adverb. Plus means more as a comparative adverb. And then plurimum means most as a superlative adverb. These are, again, all on the bottom of page 75 if you want to go back and take a longer look. With these different types of adverbs, especially comparative adverbs, we can do comparisons, just like we saw in the previous video with adjectives. I could say something like, Euclides walks more slowly than the boys. Well, that's an adverb, isn't it? More slowly. It's not an adjective. This is detailed on the top of page 76. We're not going to get into it too much because, again, it's pretty much the same thing. It's going to function the same way as comparatives that we saw in the last video. So you may want to go back and look at that again, but it's pretty straightforward. So homework, Latin 2 students. This is your homework from this video. Here's a chart of two adjective and adverb pairs with some blanks in it. What I need you to do is by Wednesday morning, email me the blanks in this chart. So longus, longior, longissimus, longe. You're missing two forms there, comparative and superlative adverbs. And then faculus, facilior, I need a superlative adjective. I give you facula, and then I need a comparative and superlative adverb for that. So you're emailing me 5 words, the forms of these. You know my email. It's on the headline page. I'm not going to say it in the video because I don't want the entire internet to get my email. This will be worth a project grade for 5 points. So pause the video here. And again, you are emailing me by Wednesday morning. That is tomorrow. Wednesday morning, you're going to email me these 5 forms. Thanks.